Sabrina, lovely to see you twice in 1 week.
No, it's a busy week, but very glad
I
to be
know.
with
I didn't
you.
know you, and now it's all this time together. I love it. I'll get us kicked off. I was gonna brag about you for a moment, and introduce myself, and then I'll turn it over to you, and to go in a little bit deeper, and we'll get into the agenda for the day. But I feel very fortunate. First of all, I loved our conversation the other day, and on the heels of it, just kind of going back in and taking a look at all that your LinkedIn profile has to say, building powerful brands and turning data and consumer insights into innovative integrated marketing strategies. Couldn't be more true on all of the
It's a
things that
long sentence, though.
it's okay. We got to really pack it in there on that space in LinkedIn. We're all guilty of that. But it was a really inspirational conversation. It's funny, I had just been chatting. We mentioned that school's coming to an end, and we were having a conversation. I asked my 15-year-old if he knew what purpose-driven marketing was, and he was like, well, if I had to guess, this is what I would think it would be. And and we had just done laundry, so I was like, and there was some of this in my laundry as well. Not that you want anything to do with that at 15-year-old, but really, I think in terms of what we dug into and really learning a lot about your background. And I think I personally was really inspired, and I think my brand loyalty to Hanky Panky, drove up many points yesterday on the
I
heels of
go
our
one more.
conversation. But the experience that you have, the collaboration that you talked about as it relates to how do we continue to go down this path. It's such an important and timely conversation, and has been for many years. So many brands do have brand purpose at their DNA, brands who are 50, 60, 100 years old even. But I love how much it's continued to bubble up, and I think how sort of the competitive nature of brands doing good has become such an important conversation, that all boats are kind of rising with that tide, and that can really only be a good thing. But
And I
back
forgot about purpose for a long time, like being obsessed by, data and, performance, that I'm so glad, it's coming back, into the discussion.
And exactly, when it's done right, it feeds that full funnel. But a little bit more on you. So inspirational collaborative leader, motivating mentoring teams, demonstrating the power of consumer centric thinking, fast paced environments from huge companies to startups, and the efficacy of all of that. So I'm really excited to dig into all of that with you. Quickly about me. So I, as was introduced by Carrie at OUTFRONT Media. I've been here a couple of years, a long digital background like you as well. But one of the things that I really love most about being at OUTFRONT, and incredibly relevant to today's topic, is brand purpose is so much a part of what we're able to do at the company, because we are, the biggest, most premium out of home company in the US. We are firmly rooted in culture, and therefore able to shout out large and important messages in culture to the masses. And so, with it being such a wild couple of years, Jody Sinisi, our CMO, had lead into that wholeheartedly. So, to make our purpose as visible as possible for as many as possible. So whether partnering with the CDC all throughout COVID, working on the program hashtag Grow Stronger, where we were helping small businesses with stimulus programs. We've leaned into sort of every relevant month you can think of. So taking women's history into Women's Her Story, and playing off of that and shouting out incredible stories across the US. Same for Black Lives Matter. With One Pulse Foundation, we just launched as well. We have a huge LGBTQIA plus program happening now that actually features a ton of our own, clients. So if you're a part of it, it's live and you're listening, go find your billboard out there in the US. It's wonderful to have that kind of, feedback loop. And we've continued to do that, as it relates to kind of anything that can be purposeful in the world around us. So enough about me, but I think we sync really well on this topic, and I'm so excited to dig in and give you to our audience. So if there's anything you want to share about yourself, go ahead now, or I can kick off this first question and you can certainly integrate it into it. I think it's very relevant.
Yeah, I think just one thing about, like, even if I have a long sentence, what I was, lucky to do when, during my background, it's really working in like global advertising agencies. So I work with like global brands and really talk about, their purpose and their development and their brand strategy, as well as working in, public companies, like in apparel, mostly these large corporations, and now being like in between, in a smaller private brand that is like female led, purpose driven. So I'm hoping today I can also provide some, insight as to, what I learned along the way, with different facets of what, being purpose driven means.
I think you will. So let's dive into it. So when it comes to communicating with your consumers, how do you think about brand purpose, and how does that approach or impact your approach to marketing rather? So tell us the Hanky Panky origin story, because it's so good and I didn't personally know it, and get into the brand DNA and share some of these great examples that you have.
Yeah, I think I need to integrate that in what I will be saying, but I think brand purpose is everything. When you work in advertising agencies, when you try to drive, creative thinking, innovation, campaigns that will kind of reach hearts and wallets at the same time, you have to be purpose driven. You have to want to be bigger or bring something that is higher than just your product and what you want to sell. And that I started with that, right? Like how can I inspire the best creative directors out there in London, in Paris, where I started, was the first step into it. And then purpose became for a long time like a second thought. Like a lot of things were data driven, performance driven, everyone focused on digital, and I did too. I developed like this background in CRM and really understanding customer data. And then I would say the brand purpose sometimes was just, something that the brand marketing team was passionate about. Maybe your CSR team was passionate about. And maybe just, you had the opportunity to go in a town hall of your like a large corporation and talk about the purpose, but it was not something that was always core of the business and how we run a business. And I think that's why the pandemic happened. A lot of people like us started to think about is it what I'm doing right, and am I impacting positively society, people, the planet, whatever is your thing. And that's why I joined Hanky Panky, because I got to meet the founders. They're still around. And they created this brand in 1977, two best friends. So imagine first, like two women creating a brand. In 1977, they were already very bold. They're still very bold and around. So female funded, female led, and now employee owned. This brand grew no matter what, still growing a lot. And the employees now own the company. So just that, I found that it was just amazing to start working for a heritage and legacy US brand. I won't be mistaken if I say that most of women have Hanky Panky in their drawer. There's so much love around it, but it's way more than just, products. It's manufactured here in New York. Most of the production is here in Queens and New Jersey. That's where the FIT students are going to see how a product is made. And there is so much passion, people working on this product. They've been around for 30 years. They know lace better than anyone, but what they developed that I thought was amazing, going back to your question, is the love and the deep care for women. So it's not just about how you project yourself to the world, right? Like your body and how you look like in underwear and in apparel. It's really understanding women in depth. What do you need to move? Like how your anatomy is made, like what makes you feel comfortable, what makes you feel good and your best during the day. And that's what they incorporated along the way. What they didn't do though was really to bring that to life. So this brand really grew without really telling the story, and created some very organic, authentic love. This is a 5-star rating product. This is I lead creative, brand, digital, and e-com. Like it's the first time I see a customer service team that comes to work smiling every day because they get more love than they can complain. So I think there's something amazing behind being, purpose driven, to me, it means, not only sustainability or causes or philanthropy. It's really how you deal and run your business. And I'm lucky enough to be, in a leadership team where the heritage and this DNA transpires in everything we do.
Beautiful. So how does that impact your approach to marketing?
Yeah, I think it's so. First, when I started 7 months ago, so I'm still very new to Hanky Panky. So I will talk about how I approached this thing. I started really to think about what's the DNA, what's the heritage, why do these women show so much love to the brand? So I really did a lot of research and interviews and spent time with customers and really understood the emotional drivers behind it. Yep. Then really like building this brand platform with the leadership team and spending time with them, talking about the values, talking about what we want to achieve, but more specifically, why do we exist? And what are we bringing to the world that is positive? Out of, us having the most comfortable song in the world, and this is what we sell, but this is why are we doing that? So we built an amazing platform that is nothing new, just expressing what they created in the first place, that aims at like uplifting and lifting up all the versions of women. And what I mean by this is women, people who identify as women also, and all the versions of us. So as a woman, you wake up every morning and you're a different person. You have a different mood. Some days you want to feel, sexy. Some other days you just want to be, binge watching, Netflix. It's fine. And you go through your life cycle, like you're a young lady, and then, you date, and then you get married, and then you're pregnant, you have post-pregnancy, and then menopause. Like a lot of things are happening to women. And something that, really resonated with me was that only 29% of women felt represented in the US in advertising. Only 29%, 44% of men. So what are we doing wrong? We're not understanding women in depth and what they want to achieve. So that's what I'm bringing to my marketing, is how do I uplift and lift up women physically, emotionally, every day, without taboos, and supporting them, whatever are their choices. And one example that I know we talked about was, when we talk about sustainability is key for us and to our customers. They started way back at the beginning, producing here, taking care of their workers, but you have to make it accessible to your customers. They have to understand how they can impact things with you. And something that we launched a few years ago called Laundry Cycle was about recycling your underwear. So if you think about, what's impacting and getting in, our landfill, it's mostly apparel. But apparel has options. You can donate, you can recycle, you can do a lot of things, you can resell. The resale industry is like booming, but you do not donate or recycle your underwear. And that is a big issue. So we started with that, and we said, how can we engage women and get them into the process of recycling their underwear? So do you mind, Rachel, if I show you something? If I show my screen?
Love it. Are you able? You're able to share screen? Yes.
Yeah, let's try.
Yeah, let's show it. I think it looks fantastic.
All right, let's see if it works. You let me know. Can you see it?
I sure can.
Awesome. So what we've done is we create a new look and feel to something that is like about sustainability, recycling. It's always green. It's always, a little bit boring and a lot of text, right? And we really thought about what does it take? What is the process for women? So something that we found out, like really being customer centric, was that we all have, most of us, I can relate to that. You have a drawer full of underwear, right? Maybe you use what's, at the top of your drawer.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
But you have a lot of other things going on in this drawer that you forgot about. So sometimes it's time just to clean it. And a lot of women told us also that, they keep them, or they don't know why. They're emotionally linked to this underwear, even if this one is like not comfortable anymore, if there are holes in it. And I really thought about, it's the same thing as a relationship with someone. when you don't want to let go. So we wanted to help women let go of an old relationship. And sometimes it's time. And we created this campaign. It's just the website, but it's just to give you an idea that, related to breaking up with your old wendies. And as you can see just below, it's like, it's not me, it's you. You were never supportive. There are holes in our relationship.
It's fantastic.
And we created a full thing,
delightful element of this is really, I think, something so special.
And that's why we're getting like way more women engaged with this program than we thought. So it tells you, how much, and I'm talking about women, it could be men too. If you bring something that is meaningful, easy to understand, that they can relate to, they want to be part of it. So it's really about, so we recycle underwear. You can send your underwear for free. We work with an organization, a nonprofit called Printtree, recycle your undies. So we bring your ex in a better place. We do it respectfully. And we even, when we launched this campaign, like you can see here, when we launched this campaign, we partnered with an ice cream brand, and we provided like free ice cream for women to, deal with the breakup and how hard it was to do so. So it's just like being playful with like topics that are more serious.
I love it. It's such a brilliant way of bringing it all together in a way that's meaningful, but also really fun, and I think unique. I hope you've entered that for some awards. It's a fantastic.
It's only you, so we'll see where it goes.
I may have to use it myself. So let's pivot a little bit, because I mean, this setup is tremendous, but the reality is there's always challenges, right? So what are the biggest challenges you faced in your career implementing purpose-led programs? And obviously, feel free to speak beyond Hanky Panky.
Yeah, so without, referring to specific brands, everyone and up to, senior leadership is always, up to defining what's the brand purpose. It helps a lot in many ways, right? But it has to be something that informs, how you do your business every day. So I'm not saying that being purpose driven is forgetting about, performance. I need e-com, like I have goals. I want to make sure that I support, the company's growth, but I think we can do that with like being purpose driven. And one example with Hanky Panky is that the growth is coming from Gen Z and millennials today. Why? Because being purpose driven resonates with them. Things that maybe 10 years ago, we thought, oh, okay, that's great. They're doing that, and was not really a driver of purchase, but right now it is. They won't pay more for it. It has to be core of your, like at the core of what you do every day. And I think that's where I was challenged most of the time, just the excitement of getting, the purpose done and written, but not seeing, if the full business embracing it day to day. Purpose is something that not only informs your marketing, but informs where you invest, informs how you choose suppliers, informs where you produce, informs your product innovation also. If I want to lift all the versions of them, it means all the versions of them. So like, what does it mean from a product perspective? How do I design products? So I think the biggest challenge that I faced was there is a lot of excitement and people are talking about it a lot, but really living through it and breathing and embracing it from the top of the company to everyone and every employee is a challenge that I'm not facing today. That's why I joined, and I'm excited to be there.
I think that's tremendous. So you talked a lot about sort of like large companies, shared talk tracks, syncing teams and roadmaps, when we were on the phone earlier this week. And I think, obviously, part of the challenges in connecting it all, as you mentioned, on the other end of that, of course, there's, opportunities. So tell me a little bit about that. I mean, we talked about impact and, pioneering solutions, but again, it's sort of mapped back into those challenges. So maybe talk us through like a use case or, how you see that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think I see a lot of opportunities, but I will just say on marketing and how I think, the marketing, at least the role of the CMO is evolving. Of course, you own, creating this brand purpose and bringing it to life and communicating on it. But the way you structure your team to be customer focused and purpose driven is essential. So one example is this purpose that we have informs our customer experience online. For example, we want to uplift all the versions of women. They have to feel that they're represented. They have to feel that the experience is right for them. They have to feel that the product is for them. They have to feel that the fit experience is for them too, and uplift them along the way. How many times I just ran a research, I got results yesterday. 72% of US women say that shopping for bras is painful, 72%. So how do we make it less painful? So it's related to our purpose, but it impacts how we think about customer experience. So it's how it impacts your e-com team, but also how it will impact, my creative team and how we shoot products. And we were just shooting with, it's funny enough, it's Pride Month. So of course, a lot of brands will talk about Pride, and we were talking about how do we do it authentically to who we are. We launched, underwear for men, for transgenders, like a long time ago. But we didn't want to come and do some rainbow washing. Like, what makes it authentic to who we are? So we shot with an amazing crew called Switch and Play in Brooklyn. It's a queer show. And they told us so many things that are so aspirational. How much freedom they found in intimates and lingerie and wearing hanky panky as they were thinking and evolving and looking for who they are, right? We're all like trying to get to who we are and expressing ourselves. And I think that is the main thing, is when you know what is your purpose, working with people, listening, getting, as much insight as you can, so you can improve your product and the experience you're delivering in an authentic way. It's not just, beautiful press releases saying like we're supporting this charity today. Of course we do, but it goes behind that.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that trend a bit. We work with a lingerie company also that just launched this beautiful men's Japanese collaboration. They're a US company, and I'm sure that, the timing is purposeful, but again, to sort of really lean into all of those opportunities in the underwear category that maybe had not been brought to the forefront before, I think is a beautiful use of purpose. So let's talk a little bit about, to that end, trends. I set myself up. So what is a trend or a technology or an opportunity that you're following and excited about for the future? And what do you want to learn more? We talked about sort of that conversation, live streaming, so on and so forth,
Yeah, and I've always been very curious, and I know everything that we are all talking about. What is relevant for me in my role today is live streaming for sure, because I feel like having a purpose gives you a why. I'm answering a question that I'm seeing in the chat at the same time. Having a brand purpose informs what you stand for and the actions you make, right? It's not just informing your creative process. So it's how you create products, how you bring them to life. It's how you sustain growth without impacting, negatively the planet. So it's very different. So going back to your question, having, a purpose and a why and values, you want to communicate them with your customers. I'm lucky enough to have very loyal, engaged customers who've been with us for years. I've never seen such a healthy funnel where, when you get in, you never go elsewhere, which is amazing. But I need a platform where I can talk with women, where the brand can connect, make a difference, talk about female and women truth and taboos and all of this without judgment, because my brand purpose, answering the second question, is uplifting and lifting up all the versions of women. And I want to be able to support their choices. If a woman decides to not have kids, she's judged every day. So how do we make sure that we address that? If a woman is experiencing, I'm really getting into like the taboo side of like everything about women, but can we talk about sexual wellness for the female gaze and not for men? And like having a platform where I can have like a two-way discussion with women, a platform where they feel heard and not judged. That's something that I'm very passionate about and exploring right now. Then now everyone talks about the metaverse. I think this is an opportunity for many brands, and specific on Roblox, where there are people, because you can also talk about the others. There is not so much of an audience yet, but I think there's something amazing around the inclusivity of the platform. Like you can go there without being judged by how you look like. You create something that can be you without, preconceived ideas of who you are. And it could be an amazing, platform also to have profound and authentic discussions and two-way discussions. So that's really specific to Hanky Panky, but of course, I find it exciting, these brands doing like their amazing NFTs and creating their stores. A lot of things going on, but live streaming will be first for us.
How do you, so in a perfect world, like what would that feedback loop be like for you as it relates to the brand and live streaming?
I think it's like having discussions out of our products, understanding women. There are not so many places where you can, and if you look at social media, where you're not just talking about what you project to the world and what people, it's hard on social because you will always be judged, right? So I'm just, in the perfect world, I would love to have a platform where we can go as women or people who identify as women and really get the full feminine energy out there, talk about choices, talk to experts, ask the questions we were asking, maybe if we're lucky enough, to our best friend. But there are a lot of things going on for women who, I don't know, went through pregnancy. Like I was lucky enough to have a best friend and a mom to talk to, but like if I knew, like how can we really talk about these things and the inner voices that women have that kind of, hurt their evolution and their empowerment, because we tell ourselves a lot of stories that are not helping us grow. So getting really this uplifting experience from others will be, a dream.
Fantastic. So let's broaden it a little bit, since I feel like we've done a really good deep dive on Hanky Panky, take the pressure off a little bit. What trends are you seeing in purpose-driven marketing space that inspire you? And any brands that you think are doing it really well? So, trends and any particular brand examples you want to cite.
Yeah, I think the most obvious one are, these brands that are really after activism and empowering women, and kind of breaking the cliches and taboos. Like I loved, this is an old one, but you remember the Always one, Like a Girl, where they asked, hundreds of young girls, but also women, what does it mean when we say, hey, you're running like a girl, or you're doing things like a girl? And really, like, this is like, I think, impacting positively the society, so we can rethink how we behave every day. So that's kind of the obvious one. But then I was just talking, I was at a conference with the chief customer officer of REI, and everything they do it and make decisions through the eyes of their members. I think all of these companies that will be more customer focused, but not just by, just feeling good about saying it, but customer focused at their core. That's the core. That's why REI is what they are. It's just like they understood customers. They look at how they behave. They build a purpose that way. So it's first, what do the members want? That informs a lot of innovation. So very inspiring.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, for me, the social conscious piece has always resonated with me. I kind of have a bleeding heart that way. So like, early days of, Toms and Allbirds and sort of really getting out there and, help global communities, whether it's water or shoes or, whatever that looks like, and, far off places, and really taking on a huge onus that, affects profitability, but also, is truly core to the, ethos and DNA of the brand, but doing good out there is something that always stays with me. I am a longtime Nike fan. I used to joke when I was little, if I ever went to work for a brand, it would like be Nike or Chanel, and those were the only two that I could ever conceive of working for. When I was a little girl dreaming. But I'm still a fan of Nike, and I think to activism and sort of getting extreme in some of their examples, but that's how we shake the trees, right? And taking some important stances in the world. It's funny, I had put P&G on my list is also, but Dove, I think, has done it so beautifully and iterating year after year on an important theme like that. And then even just old friends and clients, something I had learned. Levi's is a longtime client of mine, and I never knew this, but the headquarters in San Francisco, they've always recycled denim, and the whole infrastructure of the building in the piping is recycled denim. And I mean, they were doing this 50 years ago before climate control and change has been on the docket for a long time, but never as loud as it is now. But to have companies having truly thought about it back in the day, to me those kinds of statements and impacts in the world are like, that's something that they could authentically shout even louder. And frankly,
and you're right to say something that is crucial. It's not just about doing good, it impacts the bottom line. Like, if these companies will drive more profit, like Hanky Panky has been profitable since day one and is outpacing the market right now. It's not because like there are many factors to that, but I really believe that because it's core to who they are. Levi's is a great example. Like there is nothing we add to our products that we cannot recycle or is not recycled before. And we're not even telling customers. It's just because it's core to who we are. It's just you have to reduce your impact, and if possible, really find a way to drive a positive impact. That's what we're working on. But it drives business.
Of course. I'm going to actually switch to one of the questions that are in the box. So, do you see brand purpose different than brand positioning / unique selling proposition? If so, can you elaborate on that?
On my view, so
specific to Hanky Panky for
yeah, absolutely, yeah, and it's my opinion on that, and there are a lot of theories about that, but the way I see that is your positioning, your USP are related to the product you bring to life. So the positioning of my products, my line, their unique selling proposition supports they support my my purpose. So we're for each of our categories and new launches, we have a positioning, we have we know why does it why do we launch, what are the reasons why, how do we drive differentiation, but it supports our brand purpose. The brand purpose is not related to your products directly, is why does the company exist, how do you impact positively, if it's not people, the planet, the society, your industry, and then products will support it. But it's not related to your product per se. It's really related to who you are and what you want to achieve. So the purpose will always work with your mission, and then you have products with different positioning. But that's the way I built it along the way.
Sounds good. So we started to touch on this. I'm going to come back to it just for a second. Opportunities that you see for brand purpose marketing in the metaverse. I know you touched on it earlier as it relates to Hanky Panky, and I think it's interesting how you can sort of come as you are or want to be, or not in sort of a dreamscape, right, in the metaverse, where you can sort of body positivity becomes a whole sort of different element of your self. But I guess on a broader scale, with your experience, agencies, brand, so on and so forth, where do you see brand purpose marketing in the metaverse at a larger scale?
Yeah, I think at the larger scale, there's a sustainability play there, because you're not producing. I come from the apparel industry. It's the production, the supply chain related to the apparel industry is huge. So yeah, if you could live in a world where you do not produce as much as we do, that would be fantastic. I think there's something about, connections also. Like I have, my daughter is 10, like she's not playing Barbies or Lego as we used to. Like she's like doing that on Roblox with her friends. And that's how she builds relationships and connections and meet other people. So of course it has to be controlled, but I think there's like an amazing thing. As you can say, I'm French. My family is in Europe, in Finland, in Sweden, in France. If I could see them through, in the metaverse more frequently than just flying, that'd be amazing. I think there's something about, sustainability, connecting people, inclusivity that is amazing. My big question about the metaverse, and I think it was raised many times, is if you see, fictions and movies that kind of predicted the metaverse, it's always been because the world we live in is so awful that you want to disconnect and get in the virtual world, right? Are we there yet? I don't think so. So like my main question will be like, how big and what place would it take in our lives in the future? And I think all brands should look at it from their lens and their purpose.
I know it's getting interesting, and I look forward to it as well. I mean, the, sort of the daily press and different brands that are, launching integrations into the metaverse, be it, music festivals or music awards, which I think, it all feels sort of like interesting and relatable and different, but that piece of it hasn't quite popped. In the metaverse piece of it, to me, I feel like, it's very present in the NFT art and sort of NFT brand play right now, maybe because of, I don't know, the frivolity of it. It feels like, very fun and very now and attention grabbing. So I think that, wrapping brand purpose into those moments is huge because they're massive PR opportunities, and, the audience and appetite is there. So I appreciate seeing it coming to life in that way. Do you think that purpose-driven marketing is more effective for certain products or services or categories?
No, I don't think so. I think, being purpose-driven means that you know why you do your job, why you join the company, why this company exists. I think, if we even refer to something they didn't ask me, but it's very difficult for a lot of CMOs also to hire great talents right now. It's a challenge, but when you're purpose driven, like people want to know why they come to work every day, what impact are they making? So regardless of the product you carry and the services, like it's an amazing tool to drive creativity, culture, help you hiring, but also define your sustainability play and the causes you want to support. So I think it impacts all the departments of each company. But I think, we have discussions right now around being purpose driven. I heard so many times other brands saying like it's being authentic. It's more than being authentic. It's being like, it's really driving it day to day and making sure that you make decisions through that. It could be services, it could be tech. I moved from the Silicon Valley, where you don't pitch something to investors if you don't have a purpose on top of your pitch deck. So I think it's just for everyone. It's very relevant.
Yeah, I mean, and only is only a good thing if it's, sort of a mandatory, starting position for sort of any business plan that is, created today. It's a definite positive of the moment. So as we're coming towards the end, I'd love if you, and we've reviewed a lot, right, as it relates to sort of all elements of the marketing cycle, from, a great founder story to, development, to later being able to rely on that as, a part of the user experience, challenges and opportunities in the space. What advice can you give to the folks who are listening on purpose-driven marketing and, this greater topic at hand? Kind of put it all together for us, and a little kiss on the way out on but you've done it so beautifully, right? I mean, any advice that you can share?
Well, I think what's important, at least from my perspective, and I think a lot of brands are thinking about that right now, is being customer obsessed in everything you do. It's not being obsessed by your product, your sell-through, and your price points. That's one way to look at your business, is looking at, you know, the customers you have, what they want, where are they, what do they need, what will they need. You know, makes a big difference, and that's how you drive growth. Because if you just look at your NPD data, you can just see, oh yeah, loungewear did well, so let's launch another legging. How many leggings do we need? So I think it's just like, it's really being like curious, understanding, listening to customers, and understand their, not just their rational behavior, but their emotional behavior. How do they want to feel? What's going on in their mind? What is impacting them? What is their environment? How can I be part of it? And how can I impact them positively? Then you've done half of the job of creating a purpose. And no one ever, even at the highest level, can argue with what the customer is saying, right? So it's also like an piece of advice for all marketers out there: bring data, bring customers' insights. No one can argue with that. People can argue with the color of the next design, but they cannot argue about, you know, on customers. So I would say customer obsession and being customer obsessed every day leads you to a great purpose, but also helps you evangelize it and make sure that it's integrated in all the steps of your product development and customer experience.
Beautiful. I'm just checking to see if we have any other questions. Otherwise, I think that's kind of a beautiful way to end. And I mean, I know I really appreciated getting to know you. I think your feedback and learnings here have been wonderful. Sorry, it wasn't the dog. It's trash day. Here we are, 2.5 years later, still dealing with the Zoom elements. It's never dull. But truly, thank you for sharing such an inspired story. I learned so much from you in the last 2 sessions that we've had, with the ability to chat and, you know, agree wholeheartedly as a rabid consumer of things. You know, having sort of that, you know, level of attention from a brand is truly meaningful. There's so many choices out there. And, you know, in today's environment, being able to, you know, make choices around a brand that you bring into your home, that you put so close to your body as a hanky panky item, and then having the opportunity to, you know, feel good about that, right? You're involved in a company that has a beautiful ethos, that has a really cool and unique and frankly innovative recycling program. And, you know, hoping that maybe there'll be more products and SKUs in the future. I think the founders
It's
will
coming.
expand.
A lot of innovation coming our way, and I invite all of you women out there to revisit your drawer and use luxury cycle. I think that's the great time for that. But thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Brand Innovators. Always, you know, pleasure to be part of the discussion and learn from everyone. So hopefully I brought some actionable insights, but looking forward to being part of other events.